I am going to show and tell you what a day looks like in the eyes of a television news reporter. Working in TV news is not easy, and no 2 days are the same. It's kind of why I got into the business, because of the thrill of every day being different and you really not knowing what the day is going to look like. I made this not only to inspire the young journalists who are up and coming, but just to show everybody else what it's like. A lot of people don't really understand what it takes to be a news reporter and how much work goes into seeing that 1-minute story that you guys often see on the news.
Brittany, parents are going into the school day tomorrow with a lot of questions still tonight.
When I first come in the morning, I will have checked my emails for about the 7th time of the day already. Yes, coming in the morning. Just to make sure I didn't miss anything. It's a very fast-paced environment. You have to keep up. I make some phone calls, try to look for stories or even prep my stories or finish solidifying whatever stories that I'm going to be pitching for my morning meeting. This is the time when I would do Breakfast with Brittany and get on live with you guys, often on Facebook, sometimes on Instagram. Some days, I'm doing makeup while I'm reading emails and making phone calls, trying to do it all at once, multitask at its finest. So once in the pitch meeting, this is where everybody has an opportunity to pitch the stories that they've looked for. And when you're pitching the story, you're basically telling your bosses what story it is that you think should be covered in the newscast for that day, who it's going to impact, why it's important for the communities, your 5 W's, who, what, when, where, why. You should at least know those going into your pitch meeting.
A friend of mine lived 2 doors down from there. He said 2 homes were shot up last night, like bullet holes everywhere.
This
But it
was
happening
my
during
news
that
meeting
breaking
on
news.
Christmas.
So he didn't, if we could just ask for a police report.
You can pitch a wide variety of things, economic issues happening in the community, crime, something that you're following up on that happened the night before or the week before.
Maybe we swing by and see.
We won't get anything from them today.
Okay, yeah, which should be hard unless the people come out and talk to us. But if there's bullet holes all over these homes.
Anything that's affecting the community, something that viewers need to know, something that's going to be valuable for them to know, those are the stories that you want to pitch. The good thing is your options are unlimited. You can pretty much pitch whatever it is that you want to pitch as long as it's in alignment with the brand of your particular station. Each station is different. Their brand is different. Some stations are heavy on crime. They love the crime. So when you pitch those stories, those are typically at the top of the list because, when it bleeds, it leads. Some stations are more so storyteller workshops. They want you to get creative with telling your stories. The bad news is people aren't going to always like your pitches. This is also when a lot of times your colleagues to your left and to your right are pitching the same stories as you and you're like, why you pitch my story? That's why it's so important to cultivate sources within your community so that you can stay informed with what's going on in different sectors of business and city government so you can know what to pitch. If you're not one-man banding, this is the time where you're assigned a photographer and you guys go out to attempt to work on that story.
You guys, I'm with Steve for the day. Hi, Steve. This is for the vlogging world.
It's also important for young journalists to remember that if you have a photographer, when you're with your photographer and you're out in the community, you guys are a team. You have to watch each other's back because not everybody likes the news, okay? And sometimes it can get a little grimy in the streets. You got to be ready. Now, at my most recent station, we had the task of covering 2 stories a day. Not 1, but 2. So time management and prioritizing my day was key. I'm typically making phone calls while we're riding to a place. This is Brittany Berner from Action News Jax. How are you? So that I could solidify an interview. I'm doing research. If it's a story that I'm following up on, I'm reading the previous story so that I can learn a little bit more about what it is that I'm covering for the day. Sometimes people call us with tips.
I'm guessing about 15 to 20 shots. Most of them went through one house. Some of them went through the neighbor to the right's house.
So people call the news to see if they can get some more exposure on a specific thing so that there can be some sort of resolution. They don't want to be on camera. They don't want to share their information because they don't necessarily want to be involved, because a lot of the communities, from what I found out, they're scared. And if they're not scared, they just don't want to be involved. So they may have heard those gunshots. They may have saw what happened. They may have witnessed the entire event, but They'll tell me off camera, but a lot of them don't want to put themselves out there because then they feel like they could be a target. If it's a breaking news situation, then bam, I'm usually out the door instantly, going to the scene to assess what's going on, to interview some people there. Maybe they saw something, maybe they heard something, or maybe they have just been inconvenienced because of the aftermath and because wherever they were going has now been turned into a crime scene. And then once I get there, the first thing you do is hop out, take a picture, put it on social media so that the viewers know what it is that's going on in their community, so that sometimes the people back at the station know what it is that you're looking at when you can't pick up the phone and call them right then and there because you're trying to gather information and assess what's going on around you. Are there homes around? Are there businesses around? Do those businesses have surveillance footage? These are all things that my reporter brain is thinking when I pull up to a place and I'm trying to figure out what's going on. We wait for police to send out an email here in Jacksonville to say, oh, there's going to be a briefing at this time. And then they give you very little information in regards to what happened. It's a really tough job. This is not easy by far, okay? Reporters put their lives on the line every single day, going into these dangerous communities, going into these dangerous situations, going to crime scenes right after something has happened, something tragic, knocking on doors of people that you don't know, who could be crazy.
We went to the address listed for the teacher. No one answered, so we tried calling a cell phone number listed for him.
You know, it's a lot that goes into it, and a lot of people don't realize that. Okay, mind you, that's my first story of the day. After all of that, now it's time to log and write my story. But let's not forget, we have another story to turn. So now we're going to likely head to a different area to get a different interview about a different story. I'm telling you, time is critical. Time management skills are critical. While we're writing to the next story, this is the time I'm logging my interview, right? So I'm listening to my interview and I'm writing down what the person is saying verbatim. If it was a crime story, I'm researching the crime map to see what type of crimes have happened within a 5-mile radius within the past few weeks or within the past month or even year. I'm pulling all of this data and statistics to help craft and build my story so that it's more informational for the viewers. Now, I have to write the stories and I have to prepare to present the stories on air.
Well, this is where it happened along this stretch of road on Rohiro before you get to Merrill. And for those of you who've traveled in this area, you know that this is a 2-lane road. There are homes on both sides of the road. So whoever did this was in this area at the time. And this is where officers have been canvassing the streets looking for whoever shot that BB gun at a school bus full of children.
I was in the back of the bus and all of a sudden you hear shattering.
7th grader Desiree was on her way home from school with her Mayport Middle classmates when their bus was hit with BB pellets.
We didn't know it was a BB at first. We thought it was an actual gun.
Police say it happened just before 5 Wednesday afternoon, and students witnessed a scary situation as one of the pellets pierced through the window and hit a 12-year-old boy in the back.
You could see the hole in his back, like in his clothes.
JSO says the BB did not break his skin and he is okay. This is a picture of shattered glass from the inside of the bus. Officers say the bus driver immediately pulled over to call police once she heard the students say he had been hit. Now police are trying to figure out who shot that BB gun.
We do have video on the bus. Video points out, video points backwards, so we're trying to get access to that video to see what it shows us in that area.
Students were all forced to stay on the bus for hours until they were interviewed by police, and it left parents like Edwin Payed worried about their safety.
This is ridiculous. You don't put other people's lives in danger like that, especially kids.
Now they are hoping whoever did this faces consequences.
Obviously, it's nothing to be taken as a joke.
And students are hoping this never happens again.
It was just really scary.
Although it was only a BB gun, it's still a very dangerous situation because if that bus driver was hit, it could have caused an accident, or if another student was injured by that shattered glass, it could have been even worse. Right now, parents and students are just thankful that 12-year-old was okay and that the other students were safe. Reporting live in Arlington, Brittany Werner, CBS 47 Fox 30, Action News Jax.
A lot of people think news is glamorous. You see the reporter showing up on camera, no sweat, face beat, nice outfit. You think it's glamorous because you see the end result. It's actually very dirty. There are some days you're covering stories that would make your stomach turn. Some days you see dead bodies. There are some days you cover fires. You'll come home smelling like fire. There are some days children and babies die. There are some days natural disasters happen. There are some days where it's severe weather and you are responsible for being out there in the drastic situations in order to show and tell the viewers what's going on. So it's not easy. As a journalist, you are responsible for being accurate, ethical, fair, with great integrity. You have to have a heart for it. You can't just get into the business just because you want to be on TV, because you will get chewed up and spit out really fast. Seriously. You have to love people and have a heart for people, because you're going to be faced with some situations that are tough. You know, you're meeting people at the worst times of their lives a lot of times. So you have to really be empathetic. You have to be able to meet someone where they are. So again, as I mentioned before, no 2 days are the same. There's no telling what could happen in a day, especially when you're working in a larger market that has no shortage of news. It's always something going on. Every day is a whirlwind. After we've gone live in several different shows for our stories of the day, now we drive back to the station. But wait, it's not it. It's not over. I still have to write a web story, multiple, because remember I did multiple stories, and I have to do radio voicers, multiple, because remember I did multiple stories. And then now it's time to look for stories to pitch for tomorrow. It ain't easy. It's not easy. But for those of you who want this life, it is obtainable. You just gotta work hard. You gotta work hard, man. That's it. So that's all for now. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please subscribe to my channel. Give me a thumbs up if you like this video and if you want to see more. Remember, over here we are being intentional, we're being strategic so that we can be successful. It's 2020, okay? Let's level up. Ciao.